are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates.
FIS MoneyGram, the safest and most convenient way to send money worldwide. MoneyGram, bringing you closer. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. And Fidelity Bank. Fidelity, we're good for you.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the Record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Monday, the 6th day of April, 2020. Trusting that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable weekend. But last night, everyone rested as well and had a peaceful night also. For those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, again, we urge you to be extremely cautious. Whether you're a pedestrian, cyclist, or operating any type of vehicle on the roads of the Cayman Islands, we're seeing the presence of more pedestrians on the roads of the Cayman Islands as a result of those persons who are embracing the opportunity to exercise. And so everyone wants to be particularly cautious because of that additional presence of pedestrians on the roads of the Cayman Islands. And always remember that the life you save may be your own. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There's always someone there waiting to take your calls. This morning again, that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord@candw.ky. WhatsApp us, 925-3261, where you can leave us a text message or send us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. Again, I'm sure that most of the show will be occupied by discussing the COVID-19 situation in the Cayman Islands. As usual, I will provide you with an update for yesterday's briefing. Again, we want to remind you that you should follow all of the necessary precautions that have been issued to you by our health professionals, the individual distancing, the regulations that are in place in terms of travel, where you can go, what days you can go, and just basically reminding you that pretend as if you have the virus or the person that you're next to may have the virus as well, and that will help to guide you and to ensure that you apply the rules as advised by our professional or health professionals as well. Bearing in mind that in order to fight this virus, we all have to do our part. Every little bit counts. And you may think it maybe a little bit, but it's a big thing. Whatever you do that will help us to get through these times as well. And while we continue to get figures, and we had been forewarned that the numbers would continue to increase, and those numbers are in the Cayman Islands are continuing to increase. The number of infected persons, I should say, those numbers are increasing simply because of the way that our testing is done. So we can expect that to continue, but there is hope as well. We see that they pointed out that in the case of the U.S. and maybe in the world for that matter, that what has been happening in Spain and Italy gives the U.S. hopes that the cases will level off as well. So again, extremely important for us to follow that. This morning, again, because of our physical distancing, some people call it social distancing, others choose to call it physical distancing, because you don't want to distance yourself socially from persons. At these times, we really need to have that social interaction. While it may not be physical, it can be in other ways as well. But because of the pressures that many people find themselves under, it is important to have that distancing as well. So this morning, we're going to conduct interviews, and those interviews are going to be conducted via a phone link as opposed to the individuals being in the studio. So without any further delay, I'm going to say good morning to my guests who are online, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, and we'll start with the director, Ms. Danielle Coleman, and I think we have Ms. Teresita on as well. Ladies, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Good morning and happy Monday to you. I'm Danny Coleman. I've got Teresita De Silva with me as well. And we're just calling in from the NEOC, the National Emergency Operations Center.
Excellent, excellent. How are things going?
Good. We've had a relatively quiet-ish weekend, but obviously the work never stops during the weekend. So lots going on behind the scenes, but it seems smooth running so far.
Okay. First of all, let me give a big shout out to all of the staff at the NEOC for the tremendous job that they're doing, and we encourage them to continue with that good work that is being done there. We know there are challenges. Lots of hours being put in as well. But again, we want to extend our gratitude to all of the staff there, Ms. Coleman.
Thank you so much, OC. As you said, I mean, there's a lot of people involved in this response. And even from the National Emergency Operations Center level, there's 17 emergency support teams. So in each of those teams, there's about 5 or 6 members. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of people. But what's funny, again, is when we started a month ago or 5 weeks ago, whatever it was now, we had all those people in a room. And now, of course, we've got generally about 8 people a day in the room practicing, as you say, social distancing and making sure we're practicing what we preach. But it changes the dynamics a lot. But again, about 40 people per day are calling in on Zoom for the regular updates and the regular meetings. So it's an interesting time for all of us.
They certainly are. So we're going to give us an update this morning as well, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, again, I know you've all been tuned in to the conferences every day, the press conferences.
Yes.
And I think they're an invaluable way of getting the information out.
They certainly are.
But also, furthermore, I mean, anyone who's been looking at both the government pages, the government/coronavirus page, as well as Hazard Management page and HSA, there's so much information out there that if you have access to the internet, you can just log on at any time and make sure that you're getting the most up-to-date information. One of the problems we've had again this weekend is for unverified information and fake news, basically.
Yes.
You would have heard the governor speak yesterday about fake news, that he was also attack of that with the BA flight. We've also had an issue with someone purporting to be a mask seller and trying to get money through that, which is now with the police. So again, it's one of those things that we're really trying to avoid, but fake news is a real issue around the world right now. And we're really asking people, all your listeners, to make sure you only look at the valuable sources, the actual verified sources of information, and follow those ones, and don't share anything that you don't think has come from a reliable source.
Correct. Yes.
So, I mean, in regards to sort of the update from our side, as I said, we've got the 17 emergency support teams running around the clock pretty much. Mm-hmm. And just to give you an idea what that looks like, they fall under 4 cluster groups. One is the infrastructure cluster, and that covers things like utilities, all the utility companies, like Sol, Rubus, all the gas stations, CUC. It also covers communications, because obviously communications right now is key. Mm-hmm. There's so many more people operating from home. So, of course, we want to make sure that they have access to the internet and that's all fluid as well. So that's one cluster. Another cluster is the emergency response team, and you will be hearing from the head of that team today, as well as the head of the infrastructure cluster, Mr. John Japal. But the emergency response cluster is looking at things like, obviously, security and law enforcement. There's so many things that, we have to consider, both the things like roadblocks and all that. We're working very, very closely. That's headed by the police, Superintendent Adrian Seals. The other 2 clusters that you won't be hearing about today, but hopefully in the future, are the human concerns cluster, which covers things like voluntary services, medical relief, shelter operations. So it's all the sort of logistics that go behind, even the isolation unit that we've been setting up 2 weeks ago. There's a lot of logistics that go behind setting that up, making sure people have food, making sure there's security, making sure that there's, places that, people have access to what they need, so that they, sitting in an isolation unit for 2 weeks is a big thing. So the human concerns cluster really focus on helping with that. As do the support services cluster. Again, they're very much involved in, joint communications, making sure our messaging is completely correct. And also things like continuity of operations, because, there's one thing having an emergency of any type, but we have to make sure we're continuing operations the way we need to, obviously the aftermath. In a month's time, what does this look like? So the support services, which is headed by Catherine Powell, again, is a very busy cluster right now, as are all 4. So they're all doing a tremendous job. But as I say, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to make sure that all these things happen. So a big shout out to all those teams, because, as I say, they're doing a brilliant, brilliant job.
Excellent. This is a good time for us to take a commercial break. Ms. Coleman, please hang in there. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Alexander Selvin Eden, 1888 through 1985. Alexander Selvin Eden was a dedicated family man. He and his wife, Sarah Leonie Nee West, had 7 children, and their father made sure that they had the best education available. He loved to work the land and also raised livestock, providing steady employment for others. As a young man, he worked overseas on the construction of the Florida East Coast Railway, returning home after World War I. His major contribution was filling the void in transportation of goods and passengers between Georgetown and Bordentown, which he did with a horse-drawn carriage for 35 years in all kinds of conditions. The government called upon him for many duties in his district, including police service, tax collection, operation of the cattle dip to control ticks, service as foreman of roadworks, and as pound keeper, keeping stray cattle until their owners reclaimed them, and the maintenance of telephone lines. He also served as a member of the Assembly of Justices and Vestry.
Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
This is a time of global challenge. We, the Cayman Islands, suffer along with the rest of the world. In recent weeks, Rotary Club Central has taken action toward meeting community needs right here, right now. We have donated Foster's Supermarket food vouchers valued at $2,800 to the Hope for Today and the Bridge Foundation, $5,000 to the needs of the Multiple Sclerosis Foundation, $1,000 so our National Blood Bank can secure more donors and save more lives, $10,000 to those who feed thousands, the Samaritan Food Bank. Rotary Club Central, doing our part in community with funds raised from our community. Rotary Club Central, easing hunger, easing pain, helping where needed, saving lives. Remember, stay apart for now so we can live to move ahead together soon. Rotary Club Central, right here, right now.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
I remember playing at 7 Mile Beach as a boy, eating mango by the sea, learning how to snorkel. My mother, she worked so hard to provide for our family so that we could have those moments. Seeing her age has been tough. That strong, capable woman, now in need of daily support, it's my time to be strong for her.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Vamped Motors encourages everyone to stay home in compliance with our government's directives, which are absolutely critical to protect our islands from the coronavirus. In light of this, Vamped Motors will be closed from Wednesday the 25th of March for 10 days, or until our Cayman Islands government gives us the all-clear to return to work. Please, everyone, be safe and let's get through this together by staying apart.
We all know there's nothing more refreshing than the taste of an ice-cold Coca-Cola straight from the cooler.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Whether it's celebrating a birthday, promotion, or just a great meal, make each moment a Coca-Cola moment.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Make sure you ask for the unforgettable flavor of a classic Coca-Cola.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, sea
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. On the line, we have the Director of the National Emergency Operations Center, Ms. Danielle Coleman. Also with her is Ms. Teresita De Silva. We're talking about giving an update on the coronavirus situation and the NEOC operations as well. I want to remind our listeners that while we have both Ms. Coleman and Ms. De Silva on the phone, you're still also able to call in if you have any questions or any observations that you want to direct to our guests. So we have them on the line, but you can also participate if you have questions as well. Back to you, Ms. Coleman.
Hi, AC. I just, again, talking about updates. So one of the updates, as you know, this week, today, sorry, the days are kind of blurring into one. Today the flight comes in, the VA flight comes in, and again it leaves tomorrow. It's coming in with a lot of equipment, medical equipment, and so forth, and a few persons as well. Again, this is being organised through the governor's office, and a tremendous amount of work this weekend has gone into that from the governor's office. So whilst everyone's helping them, it's a really good partnership between both the governor's office and the NEOC and the relevant other bodies. So. The plane will be arriving here today. Now, obviously, all those persons will be going into an isolation facility for 14 days, and after 14 days will be tested. So there really is not a concern with those kind of precautions in place. People shouldn't be worried about that flight because, again, all the necessary precautions are in place to make sure that COVID is not being brought in on this flight. So that's just to mention that. But again, a big shout out to the governor's office for all the work they've done this weekend. I don't think they've left the building. Again, if anyone wants to take that flight, I think there's still a couple of seats leaving on the flight because the flight will stay tonight and then leave tomorrow.
Okay.
The email for that is emergencytravel@gov.ky, and the helpline is 244-3333. So anyone who, assuming there's a couple more seats left, can call those numbers, and there may be in future, again, whilst there's nothing booked right now, I know a couple of people who had dogs or animals who wanted to take the flight today because we can't take animals on that flight. There may be an opportunity in the future, again, I can't say when that's going to be, but to have animals. So we're going to be working with the Department of Agriculture to make sure everyone's got the right jabs and so forth. So we'll be contacting them today, but it's just again, if anyone wanted that flight, they can take it on that tomorrow. There's still seats.
Okay, Daniel, I have a question from one of our listeners. They wanted to know, since the flight will be overnighting here and the crew, what are the protocols that are in place for the crew members?
I think that's a really good question, AC, and I thank the listener for that. Now, again, we're having the same precautions for the crew members. They are also in isolation in a different facility, but again, they will not be. They'll be coming straight from the plane to the facility and then bust out again with the same protocols, cleaning the buffers and so forth. So they will not be in the public at all, except for literally driving from the airport to their location.
Okay. And one of our listeners also wanted to know how they can get in touch with you. And that would be
with me personally.
Yes, that would be through the NEOC, right? And you can you provide that number?
Yeah, I'm very happy. And again, the NEOC line.
They can email us at neoc@gov.ky. And what this does is this allows us to track all the questions that are coming in and make a response directly to persons.
Basically, what we're operating, and Teresita can describe this much better than I can, is what we call a web emergency operations center. Now, obviously, because we are practicing social distancing, but this technology we use for any emergency. So we use it every year in the hurricane exercises, and it's called WebEAC. Teresita, do you want to talk about WebEAC?
So the WebEOC allows us to work remotely and still stay together and understand the situation that's taking place. So what it does is all persons involved in the pandemic response can log in to this application, log all the tasks that are taking place, as well as see what other groups are doing. And the policy group, which consists of the chief officers, the deputy governor, and various other persons, can have an overview of what issues are arising out of these tasks so that they can help address some issues and remove roadblocks to our response. So it's a really great way for everyone to be aware of what everyone is doing, given that we can't be in the same room at the same time.
And in terms of particular queries, individual queries that are being made, what is the response time like?
In regard to the NEOC response? Or
yes.
public query?
The NEOC's response to any public queries that someone may raise.
Okay, so we tend to address them within the day. So our call takers tend to collect those queries and forward it on to myself, as well as the other relative parties that could answer the question. So we aim to answer that as soon as we can. Now, there may be delays in that we don't have the answer at the time, or there may be policies that need to go into place before a response can be given. But oftentimes those questions are answered.
And one thing again for that, OC, is that obviously everything is given a priority. So we have the call takers, again, that's run by the cadets, and they're doing a tremendous job. But the call takers will prioritize those questions. So if something comes in that needs to be answered ASAP, a priority of an urgent priority will be given to it. But there's also, again, going back to the government websites, www.ky/coronavirus. There's a full page, and it's updated daily on the FAQs, the frequently asked questions. So it's a really good place to go to before asking your own, because again, there's a month load of questions on that. So a lot of the chances are that the answer will be on that page already, unless it's a very personalized question. But again, my own personal email address is danielle.coleman@gov.ky, and albeit time is slightly limited right now, I'm very happy to answer questions myself if they come there.
Okay. And can Ms. Coleman, can you explain again for a listening audience in relation to the operations at the NEOC? How does this differ from when, let's say, for instance, you're dealing with a situation with a hurricane, or you're preparing for a hurricane as opposed to the coronavirus?
I think with that, it's a good question. You know, we do trials every year. So we do a tsunami exercise every year, and we activate parts of the NEOC. For hurricane exercises, we activate the full NEOC, but it's just for a day, so it's sustaining this. Because this emergency is a long, it's a marathon, not just a sprint. We have daily NEOC briefings. Obviously, we have the press conference. We also have daily policy briefings. Now, the policy group, again, it's made up, it was chaired by Deputy Governor, but it also has the chief officers and many other partners in that, stakeholders in that. So I guess the difference is it's finding ways to sustain it and make sure that, everyone's getting a bit of a break. But again, it's just the long haul.
And I guess the difference with the two crises is that with the hurricane, it's more physical damage that you're addressing, as opposed to with the pandemic. It's a very invisible threat that you're trying to fight, and it's more of a health focus. With the hurricane, we can be all in one room and attending to the disaster at hand and seeing what it is that needs to be addressed. But with the pandemic, it's a lot of very invisible threats that we have to think of what can happen next and how do we respond to that. Having very limited resources, because now it's not just affecting our island, but it's affecting the globe. So whereas in a hurricane, it may just affect the Caribbean and we can get resources readily, but now the resources we need to fight the pandemic is resources that the whole world needs. So it changes the dynamics of our response because of that fact.
Actually, in talking about that, OC, the dynamics, again, as Teresita just mentioned, the dynamics change every day with this. So we have to be incredibly fluid. We have to sort of deal with the issues as they come up. With most hurricanes, we practice them every year. We've had our own ourselves. We've experienced Gilbert. We experienced Ivan and Paloma. But with this, because it is such uncharted territory, we're having to adapt very quickly to a very, very quickly evolving situation. So I think that in itself, obviously, it means that we have to be much more dynamic with our decisions, much more use our initiative. As Teresita said, with the global shortage of supplies, we have to look, how do we find supplies by means that we probably would never have considered in a sort of hurricane or tsunami type scenario.
We have one caller, but we're running out of time. We're going to try to ask the caller to pose a question if they have it, and then when we get around after the news, we can have you respond to it. We also have Superintendent Adrian Seals, who has joined us, and he will continue to join us after the news as well. Caller, go ahead. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning, OC, and your panel, Teresita and Danielle. It's Azita May calling from West Bay. And my thing this morning is not a question, but to find out. We have a lot of elderly people in West Bay, and the concern is that this particular week, they will only be able to go to the stores on Monday and Wednesday because Friday is a public holiday. And then they said stores will open maybe on Monday, which is also another public holiday. So they would only have 2 days this week, and they would go from Wednesday to Monday, which is like 4 or 5 days in between without being able to go to the stores. And that is for people that is A to K.
Okay. All right. I think that was the Premier may have responded to a similar question yesterday, but we will discuss that, caller, as soon as we return from our 8 o'clock news. Folks, please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly, and we will also be joined by Superintendent Adrian Seals as well.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by Value Med Pharmacy, with 2 locations to serve you, Walkers Road in Georgetown and an Evron Plaza, Boddentown. Visit Value Med. Value Med Pharmacy is your community care partner for health and wellness needs. We offer convenient prescription processing at the counter and online at value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com, with pickup available at the Walkers Road or Boddentown location. We also accept transfer prescriptions from other pharmacies. More than just a pharmacy, shop Value Med for personal care and beauty products from trusted brands, perfume and gift sets, Hallmark and greeting cards, baby clothes, footwear, handbags, swimwear, home decor, toys, school supplies, and stationery, and home convalescence aids like wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, canes, and hospital beds. With 2 locations to serve you, Walkers Road in Georgetown and in Evron Plaza, Boddentown. Visit Value Med, more than just a pharmacy.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. As you heard live right here on Radio Cayman, 4 more positive test results were announced Sunday at the COVID-19 press briefing, bringing the total number of positives in the Cayman Islands to 39. The positive case reported on Saturday in Cayman Brac is reportedly doing well, and their contacts have been isolated. Chief Medical Officer Dr. John Lee repeatedly stressed the importance on Sunday of social distancing as, quote, the thing that can save your life. While cases of the new coronavirus unfold across the country, government leaders and public health officials repeat a new national refrain: stay home. Government has issued clear guidance in that order to, quote, flatten the curve, and Cayman is encouraged to practice social distancing. But for the handful of homeless people in the Cayman Islands, the spread of COVID-19 presents a uniquely grave threat. For these Caymanians, calls to remain home are impossible. Police Commissioner Derek Burns shed some light on this unfortunate situation.
So the Needs Assessment Unit have kicked in at the very start of the process and are assisting where they can. And as I said, we're doing what we can to assist homeless persons. Early on in the curfew process, we came across some homeless persons. They were reported through the NEOC channels, and people were provided with temporary accommodation to assist during this emergency period.
In the United States, the largest homeless population can be found in New York City, where there are more than 52,000 confirmed cases. In other news, the local law school is now offering an internationally respected postgraduate legal qualification. The Truman Bodden Law School in Georgetown invites your application to enroll in the Master of Laws or Postgraduate Diploma in International Finance, Law, and Regulation programs. Law School Director Mitchell Davies.
These postgraduate programs are unique to the Caribbean, offering the opportunity to earn practically relevant postgraduate qualifications from a leading UK university right here in the Cayman Islands. In September 2020, the programs will be entering their 4th year of operation, with the first students successfully graduating in December 2019 and May 2020.
The programs cover relevant legal issues and will give students the opportunity to acquire skills to succeed both in Cayman and the international labor market. Students can apply for either full-time or part-time study, and all classes are taking place in the early evening. Truman Bodden's Laura Pinedas.
The law school welcomes applications from those who seek an edge in the employment market and who hold a relevant first degree and unlimited professional ambitions.
Full details and application forms are available from the law school's website at lawschool.gov.ky. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Justine Green. The Chancellor Sebastian Kurz of Austria has announced plans to start easing some of the restrictions in place because of the coronavirus pandemic. Mr. Kurz said if Austrians stuck to current lockdown measures, smaller non-essential shops could be allowed to reopen next week. Austrians will have to wear masks in all shops and on public transport. The postponement of talks aimed at stabilising the oil market has led to volatility in trading today. Two of the world's biggest producers, Saudi Arabia and Russia, have blamed each other for the collapse of a previous deal to restrict production. At one point, the price of Brent crude fell 12% to just over $30 a barrel. Protesters in Ivory Coast commercial capital Abidjan have destroyed a coronavirus testing centre that was under construction. Local residents complained that it was being built too close to their homes. A health ministry official said the building was never intended as a treatment centre. A private hospital in the western Indian city of Mumbai has been cordoned off after several of its staff members have tested positive for coronavirus. Local officials said no one would be allowed to enter or leave the hospital until all patients and staff had been tested. Security sources in southern Iraq say several rockets have landed near an area in which foreign oil firms and state-run companies operate. No casualties or damage have been reported at the site, which is west of the city of Basra. The founder of EasyJet, Stelios Hadjiioannou, has warned the airline will run out of money by August if it does not cancel a $5.5 billion contract to buy new planes from Airbus. In a statement, he said he will not provide any new equity until the airline drops plans to buy 107 new planes. Mr. Hadjiioannou remains the largest shareholder. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by Value Med Pharmacy, with 2 locations to serve you, Walkers Road in Georgetown and an Evron Plaza, Boddentown. Visit Value Med, more than just a pharmacy. Did you know that Value Med Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with Value Med. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location, Value Med on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips.
Home isolation means staying indoors and completely avoiding contact with other people. You need to do this if you have symptoms of COVID-19. If you are practicing home isolation, you should stay in a well-ventilated room with a window to outside that can be opened separate from other people in your home. Keep the door closed and use a separate bathroom from the rest of the household, if available. If you have to share these facilities, regular sterilization will be required. Consider drawing up a bathroom schedule for washing or bathing and have the isolated person using the facilities last.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
A pleasant good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Synopsis indicate light easterly winds and smooth seas are expected to continue across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours, in association with a weak pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean. Radar images show no showers around the Cayman area. Now the forecast for today and tonight, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers. Temperatures will be in the mid-80s today and will fall to the low 70s tonight. Winds will be east to northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be smooth with wave heights of less than 2 feet. We're presently at a high tide, and the next low tide will be this afternoon at 2:35, and a high tide again tonight at 8:49. The sun will set this evening at 6:39 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:14. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Wednesday morning.
This is JJ the Iceman.
This is where the ride begins, a magical musical journey.
Weeknights on Radio Cayman, 8 to 10. Music on Express. Friday nights, 8 to midnight.
Music Express.
Brought to you by the Anti-Money Laundering Unit. Join the fight and learn more about financial crimes. Visit the Anti-Money Laundering website at amlu.gov.ky.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Change your thinking, change your life. Emotions are an ever-present, pressing, and sometimes painful force in our lives. Before you react to a situation, take a minute to ground yourself in the present. When we go through difficult times that are out of our control, it can be helpful to look for a higher meaning or a greater purpose. This can allow us to feel that our life has a sense of purpose, whether we call it faith or fate. There is a plan that is bigger than us. When burdened with difficult emotions, close your eyes, envision a positive solution to your problem, and ask the universe to illuminate the best path forward.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Radio Cayman's Cayman Strong Series was brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
This is a time of global challenge. We, the Cayman Islands, suffer along with the rest of the world. In recent weeks, Rotary Club Central has taken action toward meeting community needs right here, right now. We have donated Foster's Supermarket food vouchers valued at $2,800 to the Hope for Today and the Bridge Foundation, $5,000 to the needs of the Multiple Sclerosis Foundation, $1,000 so our National Blood Bank can secure more donors and save more lives, $10,000 to those who feed thousands, the Samaritan Food Bank, Rotary Club Central, doing our part in community with funds raised from our community. Rotary Club Central, easing hunger, easing pain, helping where needed, saving lives. Remember, stay apart for now so we can live to move ahead together soon. Rotary Club Central, right here, right now.
For the health of it, Radio Cayman's premier health show is brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy, the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association, Holy Cross Hospital,
Cayman Fertility Center,
and EatingClean.com.
This is For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips.
Home isolation means staying indoors and completely avoiding contact with other people. You need to do this if you have symptoms of COVID-19. If you are practicing home isolation, you should stay in a well-ventilated room with a window to outside that can be opened separate from other people in your home. Keep the door closed and use a separate bathroom from the rest of the household, if available. If you have to share these facilities, regular sterilization will be required. Consider drawing up a bathroom schedule for washing or bathing and have the isolated person using the facilities last.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're communicating with Miss Danielle Coleman and Miss Teresita De Silva via a phone link. We have also been joined by Superintendent Adrian Seals. I'm going to say good morning to Superintendent Seals. Sir, welcome to For the Record.
Okay, good morning. Certainly it's a pleasure for me joining you this morning. And I want to say, a good Monday morning for the Cayman Islands.
Yes, sir. We'd like to hear from you from a police perspective as well. We know that the commissioner in the daily press briefing will normally provide a comprehensive update of the activities taking place, and I'd like to hear from you, sir, in terms of the overall situation.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Let me first start by saying the emergency cluster, I do represent the Customs and Border Control Unit, HMP, that's the Prison, the Cayman Islands Fire Service, the CIAA, the Emergency Communications Center, the Cayman Islands Coast Guard, and there are some 1,100 of us. But from a policing side, I want to first thank the Caymanian public for their compliance. I would generally say that we are about 99% compliant. In most cases, and I'll say this with confidence, that usually every night there are at least 2 prosecutions or warned persons for prosecutions. Occasionally there will be arrests, but there are many nights when there are no arrests. Moving on, I would say to the residents, listen to the public health messages, particularly on social distancing. You probably would have seen the movements in and around the supermarkets or any place where you see crowds. There's a soft and a hard curfew in place, and I know you know those times probably better than I do now, but they are there for a reason. In terms of staff, let me just look at a cross-section of the emergency clusters and the names and the units I represent.
Sure.
Yeah. There's sort of a redeployment of staff in some cases. For example, Customs and Border Control, they are assisting the RCIPS. On the front lines, they're doing vehicle checks with us. They're at the supermarkets monitoring and assisting those establishments with social distances. The Cayman Islands Fire Service, for example, their control room staff, since the airport is now closed, they're assisting the Emergency Communication Center 911 with call handling. The fire service, again, using some offices, not spare, but they thought that they could offer the ambulance service, the EMS drivers, should they take sick, that is, any of the ambulance drivers. So they are there to assist the EMS and the hospital in driving the ambulance. In terms of the prison director, he's assisting the cluster human concerns. This is where the NAU is situated as well, with meals to the elderly who are shut in. So we've recognized as well that there are instances, these sort of instances, and the prison director has stepped up to assist in that. Also, the prison director, he has a resource as well, and that is he can make some reusable masks. So he's looking at reusable masks to construct those for inmates and staff. And the RCIPS, obviously, this is where I sit as well. Our air unit, we are on standby to assist COVID-19 efforts in Cayman Brac. I'm referring to the Faith Hospital. Should the sister islands have any immediate medical emergencies, we are always on standby to medevac those persons to Grand Cayman. And as mentioned before by the Commissioner yesterday's press briefing, the RCIPS is working closely in collaboration with the NAU in flagging some of the homeless persons that we do come across sometimes during either the hard or the soft curfew. I will say one last thing, and that is on the discussion before we went off to the commercial break. We were referring, I think it was Teresita was referring to hurricanes and dealing with COVID-19. I can say, and I agree with Teresita, it is very, very different. I've been in the NUOC for maybe 20 years, but I will say that it is totally, totally different in the NUOC from dealing with a Cat 3, Cat 4, or Cat 5 hurricane. At least with a hurricane, you know it's coming down range, you can prepare, you have at least a week, you hunker down, and, the storm surge, you can deal with that. Then there's the all clear. COVID-19, nobody knows. So it can be very scary. But in a nutshell, the police remain helpful in the sense that we are trying to enforce the public health regulations and advice, and we want to do what we can to flatten the curve. And I urge all residents in the Cayman Islands to do so. But I want to do one prop for our Caymanian residents, and I can say, for me, with just about 38 years service, I can say, and I mean this sincerely, that the Cayman Islands have one of the best behaved crowds I have ever seen. And If you look at other jurisdictions, and when it comes to social distancing, you can see the challenges because of the sheer numbers that they have. But here in the Cayman Islands, we do get some people who move closer than 6 feet. But generally speaking, there's no rushing, there's no pushing around, there's nothing like that. So on that note, I would like to thank everybody for their help in working this problem through.
Superintendent Seals, while we still have you on the line, one of our listeners has written in and said that there's a barber who, after his salon closed down, has been observed cutting hair and working out of his home. Between you and Ms. Coleman and Mr. Silva, can we direct this writer as to the proper procedures to be taken when something like this is observed, and who to contact and how do they go about doing it?
Certainly, that is that's not permitted at this point in time, and I definitely would like to speak with that caller. And I could give a number, or perhaps Ms. Coleman, if you're listening, if you could repeat the NEOC hotline for me.
Thanks, Superintendent. I think for those kind of calls, they really should go through to 911. I believe everyone would have heard the Premier yesterday speak about barbershops. And as he said, it's a death wish. If you think right now that your hair is more important than your life, then, there's definitely something wrong there. So, yes, if the caller can call 911 and report that person, we'd be most appreciative of that.
Excellent. Thank you. And Ms. Coleman, for the caller that we had before we went to our 8 o'clock news in relation to the elderly persons who are likely will miss possibly 2 days of shopping, what advice can we give to them in terms of how they go about assisting those persons who find themselves in that situation, especially if they're elderly, if they have limited, if they're limited in terms of their shopping, how can we go about assisting them?
The supermarkets are closed on Friday, but they will be open on Monday. And if there are persons who do need items, just be a friendly neighbor and pick up items and just drop it off at their doors. That way you don't have to come in contact with the elderly person, but they can still get their items that they need. So if there are persons who can assist, just contact Mrs. Edemy, I'm assuming, and she can let you know who needs assistance, and just be a friendly neighbor, be a good Samaritan, purchase items at the supermarket and just do a door drop.
Sure, because it isn't expected that any adjustments would be made under those circumstances. I believe that despite whatever numbers we may have, that everyone can do their part, friends, family members, neighbors, to assist those persons who find themselves in such a situation.
I think, as you say, Cayman Kind right now is so important, making sure that we are looking out for each other. Saying social distancing, well, I think we've sort of changed that to sort of physical distancing and social solidarity. I think it's so critical that we're all looking out for each other right now. And that kind of extends to things like practical things like, again, helping with groceries, but also with mental health. Again, offering, calling people up. It doesn't mean that because we have to be apart physically that we can't call people up or send them an email or just check in with people. So we're really, really encouraging everyone to be doing that with their friends and family and just reconnecting. It's a great time to reconnect through those rather sort of unconservative means. And just to follow on from that, again, going back to mental health, obviously we're all suffering. This is a very strange time to be living. It's very surreal. But there is help out there for anyone who needs mental health to check in. And our number is 1-800-534-6463. And there's mental health practitioners there to help you just to talk about the situation and so forth. So let's all work together through this and make sure we're supporting each other.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. another of our listeners had a concern about rent as well, and they've pointed out that their landlord came to collect their rent for April. They're unable to pay because they're not working. The landlord has pointed out that he will use their deposit for April's rent, and if the individual is unable to pay for May, then they will be evicted. Has there been any special legislation being contemplated to deal with the rent situation, or are we still, again, relying on Cayman kind and the generosity of and flexibility of landlords?
Thank you for bringing that up. It's a very serious issue that the government is looking into and trying to figure out a way to assist persons who may find themselves in that position. But as you can imagine, it's not just a flick of a finger and the law can be changed. There has to be real consideration as to how the law can be changed and what conditions can be changed within the law. So it is something that is being looked at, and hopefully soon we will get an answer or get some assistance for persons who are finding themselves in this difficult situation. But until then, we do plead to those landlords to have a heart, be Cayman kind and understand the situation that persons aren't able to receive an income, and therefore they aren't able to pay their rent. This isn't a situation that they chose, but rather it's a situation that was placed on all of us. So it's not their fault. They're not being negligible, but rather it's a global pandemic that has put them in this position. So until then, just find a heart and we are working to resolve this issue.
And actually, OC, on that note, we are hearing some nice positive stories. I mean, obviously that's a very, very harsh one to hear, but there are positive stories out there. I mean, we heard one about the strata of a complex agreeing to stop strata payments for 2 months. And that's been passed on to the tenants. So it's those kind of stories, again, we'd love to hear more about, because it's showing the positive side. I mean, obviously there is both sides, but there are positive stories out there as well, that landlords are being very responsible and actually paying it forward, paying that goodwill forward to their tenants. Exactly.
And also landlords have to bear in mind that there's a flip side to that coin as well. And with the number of persons who have left the jurisdiction already, and quite possible more who will leave whenever the opportunity arises, that there may be a glut of empty apartments on the market as well. So they should try to do whatever they can to encourage and to keep those tenants that they have. Otherwise, they may end up with empty apartments later on also.
Yeah, I fully agree with that, OC. I think that we're going to see that. We do have Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Will Pinot, as part of our NEAC, as economic continuity, and all those kind of matters are dealt with in the NEAC. But as you've got a really good point there. Again, treat your tenants kindly now, because it may end up biting you in the backside in future if you don't. So please have a heart and make sure you're doing what you can to look after your tenants at this time.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break now, and I believe that when we return, we're going to also be joined at some point by Mr. John Andrew Japal as well, and also Mr. Richard Sims. So, folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, formerly known as Professional Pharmacy, would like to thank the Cayman communities for their loyal support these past 18 years. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care. Thorough background checks and follow-up consultations is only the beginning. Your safety is our concern. Our staff are respected healthcare professionals whose job requires careful and precise calculations. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, where we prepare to provide exceptional care. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we care about your health.
Sending money to your family overseas shouldn't be a full-day process. Stop waiting in lines. MoneyGram, the safest and most convenient way to send money worldwide, offering 3 convenient locations: Shedden Road, Baden Water Sports in West Bay, and at FIS Brack Agency in Cayman Brack. MoneyGram by Financial Integrated Services. Visit fiscayman.com for more information on MoneyGram services. MoneyGram, bringing you closer.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
A public service announcement from Radio Cayman. Coronavirus prevention tips. Advice for vulnerable people. Extra steps you can take to avoid COVID-19. If you have a chronic illness, such as respiratory disease, diabetes, heart disease, COPD, hypertension, or cancer, or are elderly, over 60, or have a compromised immune system, you can further protect yourself with extra precautionary steps in addition to prevention tips. Remember, you are supported. Call the HSA helpline on 1-800-534-8600 or 947-3077 if you have any questions. For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have on the phone lines with us Miss Danielle Coleman, the director of NEOC, also Miss Teresita, sorry, my apologies, Miss Teresita De Silva. We have Superintendent Adrian Seals, and we're going to give Superintendent Adrian Seals an opportunity for some final comments and advice coming from the cluster that he represents as well. Superintendent.
Okay, thanks again, Mr. Connor. From our cluster, security law enforcement, we've had a pretty good run-in for the past few weeks. I know that this is going to be a long haul. I urge everyone to be patient, listen to the public health information, and hopefully moving forward, we can all get through this. One way or another, we are a resilient group, and we will get through this. There's not a lot more we can say as police officers, and from the statistics, I can definitely say that of all the contacts that we are making during the hard curfew is persons who are exempt. We're talking about the emergency services people who are doing their regular shifts, and that is what I refer to. We are about 98% of those persons moving around. Unfortunately, we do get the odd one or two persons. So for that, I wish to thank everybody for their cooperation and stay indoors. It's shelter in place, and we don't need to look too far. We could see what's happening to our neighbors in the north, that is the USA, but more so around the world. So with that, I'll leave you there this morning.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. All the best to you. We're going to link up now with Mr. John Andrew Japal. And Mr. Japal is the Infrastructure Cluster Manager at the NEOC. Mr. Japal, good morning, sir. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thanks for having me. Morning, Danny and Teresita.
Good morning, John. Good to hear from you.
Okay, if you could explain to our listening and viewing audience that this morning the what the management of the NEOC cluster, what that entails, and tell us about the cluster itself.
Sure. Yeah, so as Danny mentioned before, infrastructure is one of the 4 clusters. And I mean, given the current threat, it's probably the least active right now, but still a lot going on because it comprises 4 emergency support teams that within those have quite a few departments and businesses within them. So, and it's primarily the busiest ones right now are definitely utilities and the information technology and communications sectors. So those support teams, utilities, that's headed up by Dr. Julia Frederick Van Denderen from the Water Authority, and information technology and communications is Mr. Ali Famoy from Off-Reg ICT. And under utilities, we obviously have Water Authority, the fuel companies, Rubis, Sol, Home Gas, Cayman Water, CUC. Under ICTA, we have the telecom providers line, Digicel, DMS Broadcasting, Hurley Media, Radio Cayman. So, I mean, my role is basically to filter information back and forth up from these emergency support teams to the NEOC, let them know what needs and concerns, those various folks have, and also pass information back the other way, letting them know, what they need to be doing to ensure. I think that the primary focus for those folks have been continuity of operations because, we want to make sure people have access to all of these very important resources, their water, their electricity, obviously phone and internet contact with their loved ones, and also for entertainment, obviously. So those two particular emergency support teams have been very busy. We also have initial clearance and debris management under the infrastructure cluster. That name kind of, lends itself more to a hurricane threat, yes. But within that, that still has Department of Environmental Health, and we have Mr. Sims on the line, who heads that up, who can talk about that more. But obviously, waste collection is very important. That can, spring a whole bunch of other issues if that's not dealt with properly, especially with so many people being at home. And there's within that cluster, there's also Public Health, Department of Environment, NRA, DVES, DVDL, Water Authority there too. I think DEH is kind of the busiest one right now. And then the last cluster the last emergency support team under infrastructure is damage and economic impact assessment. And again, because it's not a physical threat we're dealing with, won't be as much physical damage to look at, but the Economics and Statistics Office head up this support team, and that's under the leadership of the director of ESO, Mr. Adolphus Laidlow. And so what they've already started doing is looking at the economic impact of this threat and this pandemic. And within that support team, we also have PWD, who, they've had to lend a lot of manpower with setting up some physical things and assisting other clusters. So that's another thing we're trying to do, obviously, where we can lend support to the other clusters we have through manpower and expertise. So that's kind of our cluster in a nutshell.
Okay. Now, both Ms. Coleman and Ms. De Silva spoke about the difference between natural disasters like hurricanes and the COVID-19 situation. For instance, when there's a hurricane, then the utilities companies and the various other ones could be impacted physically. Here you have a different twist to it, where their bottom line may possibly be affected simply because of people's inability to pay their bills on time. So it's going to impact them financially and otherwise. But at the same time, these companies, many of them play a huge role in terms of people's lives and their ability to continue to communicate and try to live as normal as possible. And we're going to take a commercial break. But when we return, I'd like you to reflect on that and how those clusters are working now, sort of in reverse order, dealing with the needs of their clients as opposed to their needs, which both do have needs, but in this particular case, it's probably the clients who are impacted more so than the companies themselves. Folks, please stay tuned. When we return, we will have Mr. Japal respond to that.
Vamped Motors encourages everyone to stay home in compliance with our government's directives, which are absolutely critical to protect our islands from the coronavirus. In light of this, Vamped Motors will be closed from Wednesday the 25th of March for 10 days, or until our Cayman Islands government gives us the all clear to return to work. Please everyone, be safe and let's get through this together by staying apart.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes, Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore,
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips.
Home isolation means staying indoors and completely avoiding contact with other people. You need to do this if you have symptoms of COVID-19. If you are practicing home isolation, you should stay in a well-ventilated room with a window to outside that can be opened separate from other people in your home. Keep the door closed and use a separate bathroom from the rest of the household, if available. If you have to share these facilities, regular sterilization will be required. Consider drawing up a bathroom schedule for washing or bathing and have the isolated person using the facilities last.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. For those of you who are just joining us, I just want to remind you that we have a telephone connection, a telephone link with the director of the NEOC, Ms. Danielle Coleman, also Ms. Teresita De Silva. We also have on the line Mr. John Andrew Japal. We're talking about the infrastructure cluster. We also have on hold Mr. Richard Sims as well. So we're going to have Mr. Japal answer the query that I had before. I know that we know that Ms. Coleman has to leave us around about 9 o'clock. So after Mr. Japal answers that question, we're going to give Ms. Coleman an opportunity for some closing comments for her. And we're trusting that Ms. Teresita De Silva will be able to remain with us, and we will also be accommodating Mr. Sims as well. Mr. Japal, back to you, sir.
Yes, sir. So your question was regarding
the
concern about
Yes, the utilities addressing the needs of their customers, because while they're impacted, normally it's the other way around where, we're looking to get the utilities up and running after a hurricane or something like that nature. What we're trying to do now is they're trying to keep their customers, up and running, connected, because it's so important for them to be able to access information, as well, and, what they're doing in that regard.
Absolutely, and I think they're all very accommodating, and I think all of them have done press releases so far, just letting all the customers know that, they have relaxed billing deadlines and disconnection policies, so, to make sure people aren't without any of these services. That is obviously something they will have to keep revisiting. I think most of them have given it 60 days to see what happens, and then they'll revisit it again. And it's kind of a similar situation on the telecommunication side, where they're dealing with it on a customer by customer basis, and trying to help as much as possible to avoid people getting disconnected. And the only thing I would say to that is, for people to not take advantage as well. Let's be conservative. Mm-hmm. Let's not, use more than we need. Let's not put ourselves in a hole down the road thinking, I don't need to pay for a few months, so I'll worry about it down the road. So, be cognizant of how much you're using, and, let's not get carried away. But definitely all the utilities and telecommunication companies are, concerned about the public, and they'll be looking out for them.
Certainly. And for those, would you say to those persons who have the financial wherewithal to continue to pay their bills on time, that they should do that, because their provider also has financial obligations as well. So wherever one can assist, they should. So if you're able to pay your bills, go ahead and pay it. If you're unable to, then go ahead and take advantage of the reprieve that you've been given, bearing in mind that you're going to still have to cover it somewhere down the line when we recover.
Yeah, absolutely. All those companies have struggles of their own, and they have a bottom line as well, and they have staff they have to pay. They have other bills they have to pay, and we want to keep them sustained so they can provide service to everyone. And in this threat, there's other little knock-on issues, like, for instance, even if there are people that have put their checks in the mail, the postal service isn't really operating right now, so it's difficult for everyone, including these utilities and communications companies. So yeah. Okay. For those people who can pay on time, I would say please do, because we need to keep them going as well.
Okay. And any closing comments that you would want to make, Mr. Japal?
I think I've said it already. Be smart about your consumption of these utilities and communications and bandwidth. I think all these companies, they're doing their best to improve services where possible. Speed up internet where they can. There's some things in the works there. Also, I would say if you are experiencing any issues in terms of utilities or telecommunication services, report those directly to the providers, and they'll make their way up the ladder from there. That's not really an NEOC issue that they need to contact the hotline for. And that way those companies can, really focus on what the issue might be, and then we can work out a solution that way.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Ms. Coleman, you're there, and I before I get you to say some closing comments, because I think you have to leave us at 9 o'clock. One of our listeners has written and wanted to know if they could find out anything concerning the $600 for taxi drivers. They pointed that some of us are more desperate than others. Also, hopefully the government will push quickly for us to be able to access our pensions, as our savings are being depleted quite quickly. And the needs assessment unit is under a lot of pressure and may not be able to sustain all who are in dire need, especially those of us who have young children to feed. What can we say to that, writer? Ms. Coleman?
Sorry, thanks, OC. I'm hearing you.
Sure.
I understand that the Department of Tourism are dealing with that, and there will be announcements this week. But again, we'll definitely follow that up internally. And it's a good point. Again, we appreciate everyone right now is going through hardships, be it economic or physical or so forth. So, a lot of considerations going on behind the scenes as to what that will look like and how we can help move forward in the future. As you said, I have to leave for the NEAC meeting at 9 o'clock. But I guess my parting comments are, there's not much we can control that's going on around the world. Obviously, the pandemic is what it is, but there's a lot we can control from home. So a lot we can control from making sure we're being responsible, making sure we're staying at home, making sure we're, being kind to each other and making sure that we're doing what we can, albeit from a socially distant space, to look out for each other and really, really work through this together. We can't do this alone. It's definitely, even in the NEAC, it's a public-private partnership. But we really need everyone in Cayman to be doing their part, to stay at home, to live within their means and so forth, and just really help the whole response, because without you, we can't do it alone.
Okay. I have another question, and I'm not sure if Mr. Japal is still on the line. Okay, he's not there. But this really doesn't relate to utilities, and it has to do with more the financial industry. And this person says, any word on reopening of MoneyGram or Western Union or any money transfer? I know that the Premier did point out that so far they hadn't received any request from these wire transfer companies to be able to open. I believe at one point in time, one was open and was closed simply because they did not have the proper approval. Anything that we can advise on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to what the Premier said about that, he was waiting for an application to go to the curfew time at gov.ky as to sort of measures that these companies would take to ensure social distancing. So what I would recommend anyone who's in that position is to email curfewtime@gov.ky and express what measures are being taken by your company to ensure that social distancing is happening.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. And Ms. Teresita, she's going to stay with us while you're gone, Ms. Coleman?
Indeed, she is. She's just here.
Okay.
Thank you so much, AC. Thank you to all the listeners.
Thank you very much. I believe we have Mr. Sims on the line. We want to, what we'll do, Ms. Susan, we'll introduce Mr. Sims. We have about 4 minutes before we go to our headline news at 9 o'clock. Mr. Sims, good morning, sir. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OT, and good morning to fellow panel members and the Cayman Islands. Thank you for having me this morning.
I know it has been a challenging time for your department in general, but you have risen to the challenges when there were issues in relation to vehicles, drivers, and pickup times. How are we managing now, sir?
It's a challenge, and it's still a challenge. And first, but before I go on, I want to commend my team, the Department of Environmental Health staff. They have been, so exceptional in these circumstances. They have stepped up to the plate and understand the circumstances, and they've been going above and beyond. Particularly, as you mentioned, with the challenges with vehicles and equipment. We're still working with what we have from last year, right? So, all this wonderful job that they're doing, it's not like we have extra stuff working with. We're still working with the same team and equipment, but they're getting the job done. And even more so, right, to show you how much dedication and commitment that my team is. We have about 21 persons who are in self-isolation from the department, right? So the rest of the team step up and say, don't worry, we got this. We're gonna move things. So because you understand that in how we drop the ball here, we can create another pandemic ourselves. Because in terms of garbage collection, because as you know, you've heard people complaining about our schedules at times and so on. and you know, we have stepped up. We've been doing it. And in addition to that, no, I'm really grateful to the Deputy Governor, matter of fact. And you know, just last week he approved for us to take on an additional 10 persons. And these persons are going to be recruited from the unemployment pool, right? Because as you know, this thing now, already people are losing jobs. So it's an opportunity to take on some people who don't have jobs or who have lost their jobs. You know, so we work with the Works unit, and they've provided us with some people, and hopefully we should be finalizing a few contracts for them this week so that they can commence working with us and help the department some more.
Excellent.
But we've been doing some good stuff, you know, with the resources that we have, and hopefully in the next few months or the next month or two, we should be able to see some new garbage trucks around the place. So we're working on that as well. You know, to boost our resources a bit. So, you know, the government ought to be commended in this regard, where they have stepped up to provide some employment, some temporary employment opportunities for people, and for them to contribute to the island as a whole. So I'm really grateful for that.
Excellent, excellent. We reached the top of the hour, 9 o'clock news. Mr. Silva, Mr. Sims, please stay on the line. We will continue to dialogue with you as soon as we return from this break.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news. Access.
Local, regional, international, this is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
A large tent is set up next to Glass House for staffers at the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service.
So basically you'll see it a bit more busy today, but they tend to have one police officer per table, and it's just to give them some workspace.
Director of Hazard Management Danielle Coleman says this will ensure officers are maintaining social distances while at work. Checking the latest summary of COVID-19 across the globe, new infections and deaths have fallen in Spain and Italy in recent days, suggesting lockdowns are working. The slowly improving situation in those countries gives the U.S., quote, hope, says a key Trump advisor. But the Surgeon General has warned the country is set to face a 9/11 moment this week as deaths increase. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is in the hospital after suffering persistent symptoms. The news was announced on Sunday, shortly after the Queen addressed the nation. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is expected to announce a state of emergency in his country, and nearly 1.3 million cases have now been confirmed worldwide, with close to 70,000 deaths. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
We all know there's nothing more refreshing than the taste of an ice-cold Coca-Cola straight from the cooler.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Whether we're celebrating a birthday, promotion, or just a great meal, make each moment a Coca-Cola moment.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Make sure you ask for the unforgettable flavor of a classic Coca-Cola.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have Miss Teresita De Silva from the NEOC on the line, and we also have Mr. Richard Sims, the Director of Environmental Health. Mr. Sims, speaking about the situation with the garbage collection and everything, you have a particular challenge as well, I would imagine, because there are certain activities that are not taking place at the landfill, for instance, now. And do you expect when we all reach the all clear and we're back to some semblance of normalcy that you will see an increased demand on the landfill, increased pressure because, for instance, landscaping companies, they're not doing any business now. There's going to be a pent-up demand for these services and individual homes as well. What do you say about that, sir?
Yeah, for us at the moment, the landfill operation continues. My staff is still there. We're still doing all the works, the daily stuff that goes on at the landfill. What we have seen, though, as a result of this is there's a reduction, yes, as you mentioned, in terms of what coming into the landfill from landscape and stuff like this. That operation is not going on. But what this does is it gives us an opportunity to set the landfill operations in a way that when this now start to redevelop again, then we are better able to manage it, right? So there's some opportunities here that we're working on, so we can look at how we manage our waste coming in, the stream flows, and where it goes. We're setting up new locations for tipping certain things and so on. So we're still managing that, but yes, the flow, as you can imagine, when it opens up, then we'll have a lot of things coming into the landfill as usual. Probably even more, because people are probably storing up stuff around their premises now for when we are business as usual. Then we have to deal with all of that. But my staff are still there. We are managing and still, because as you know, there's still daily collection going on, so we still have to have the landfill operators in there to deal with the waste that are coming in, even though it is not at the volume that was previously happening a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. Now, I think sometime in March you issued a press release and you provided the revised landfill opening hours. Are those still in effect? And can you again repeat those for our audience, please?
Yes, those are still in effect at the moment. The operation hours, I don't have them in front of me at the moment.
Okay, I think we had Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yes.
Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. and closed on Sunday?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
We'll still maintain that because for the duration of the curfew that's in effect. So, because people should be able to move around within the soft curfew for us to manage this schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one of the things that I want to mention here too as well, OC.
Sure, sir. Go right ahead.
Because my team has been briefed already, and we have been issued with PPEs and so on to make sure that we know how to collect the waste, and we have to treat every person as if every household that we collect from as though they are infected, because we are not in a position to be told who has a virus and so on.
Yes.
Because as you might can appreciate the fact that we have to be in compliance with the data protection law and patient confidentiality with their doctors and so on, right? But just want to kind of give some general advice around that when it comes to persons who are affected. We want to make sure that to ask them to double their waste in terms of the packaging. If you know that you're somebody who's been affected, you put all of it in one bin, one bag, and then you double that, put it into another bag, so that it makes the spread lessen. And even though, like I say, our guys will be protected anyway, but nonetheless, these are the precautions that we want people to take, so that the collection can go smooth and without any sort of worries,
Excellent. And any advice in terms of burning and things of that nature that would normally, I believe that if you wanted to burn, you would have to seek specific approval from your department to do so, and you would issue guidelines in that regard?
No, let me clear. It's illegal for any type of burning of your garbage or waste to go on. Mm-hmm. The law prohibits that.
Okay.
Right? We want to make sure that if the special waste that people consider to be collected in a bulk waste, they can also, call the department, make special requests for bulk collection, stuff like that. We don't want to encourage any form of burning. What a lot of people confuse the applications for burning is if, for example, you want to have a bonfire. This is where you mean, you're having a little small event on the beach, for example, and you want to have a little small bonfire.
Mm-hmm.
that is where an application comes in for approval for that to be considered after we've been in consultation with the fire department and so on. And, we give guidelines as to what they should have when conducting those bonfires. But general burning of waste is prohibited.
Okay, that's good to know as well. And any additional advice that you would want to give? You've again, spoken about the way that garbage is stored by individuals, the way that it should be done. And in the event that there is spillover, because we're still seeing in some areas, for instance, where people just put their garbage out, sometimes it's susceptible to being disturbed by either by animals, dogs and other types of animals as well. What advice can we give to them?
Yeah, sure. The thing is, I just want to I would encourage people to make sure that they have proper enclosure where they store their garbage. For example, make sure that you got to look at your waste, look at what you generate, the amount of waste per household. The average household, normally generates about 4 pounds of garbage per person, right, a day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you start to look at, okay, how much my household dispose of, and then you go, okay, do I have sufficient storage for that? In terms of, you want to make sure that you have a proper garbage bin with lids on it that can be covered, because what we've been seeing, the reports and that we get back from the environmental health officer that goes out and sometimes look at these things. You look at how people are storing the garbage. You see bags by the tons, but there's no coverage. There's nothing to cover it to say, okay, if a dog comes by or a cat or chickens, they have easy access to it based on how they're stored. So we want to encourage people to find ways to ensure that you put your garbage in proper bins, put with lid on it, close it, so that it prevents animals from getting to it. Because if you don't, what happens is you find that these animals they go and they dig in the garbage, and it spills over into the streets and in the neighborhoods and so on. And then what a lot of people expect from the DEH, which I want to make it clear, we don't clean your enclosure.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of people think it's our responsibility to come in there and clean their store. It's not. It is your responsibility to make sure that you maintain that, right? And so these are the kind of things that, you have to make sure you take preventative measures to ensure that you have proper lids to secure your garbage from these animals that come and get it.
Okay, we're going to ask you to stay on the line, Mr. Sims. I'm going to go back to Mr. Silva, and I'm not sure, Mr. Silva, whether or not you can answer this question, or it may have to be referred elsewhere. But it has to do, with the use of masks and gloves by persons who are serving the public, let's say in supermarkets and other places. Any advice on that?
Yes, I don't have the expertise to advise persons on the procedures in terms of handling of food while wearing PPEs, but persons should still be mindful that even though you have gloves on, that doesn't give you don't have the free way to just touch every and anything. You still have to be mindful of what you touch. Cleansing your hands, not touching your face with these gloves, because now you're touching multiple surfaces with the gloves. Germs can stay on these gloves for quite some time, and then you're continued to transfer the germs from one surface to the next. So I guess my advice is not to get a false sense of security when wearing gloves, but still be mindful of the necessary sanitary precautions when wearing gloves.
Okay. And Mr. Sims, from an environmental health standpoint, is there any requirement at this point in time for people to wear masks when they're dealing with the public, let's say at supermarkets and things of that nature? I know that, you do have your food handling courses and stuff like that, and if you may want to dispense some advice, in relation to food handling, but we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we would like to get some response in relation to the mask situation, either from you, Ms. De Silva, or from you, Mr. Sims, as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Vamped Motors encourages everyone to stay home in compliance with our government's directives, which are absolutely critical to protect our islands from the coronavirus. In light of this, Vamped Motors will be closed from Wednesday the 25th of March for 10 days, or until our Cayman Islands government gives us the all-clear to return to work. Please, everyone, be safe and let's get through this together by staying apart.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs, with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips.
Home isolation means staying indoors and completely avoiding contact with other people. You need to do this if you have symptoms of COVID-19. If you are practicing home isolation, you should stay in a well-ventilated room with a window to outside that can be opened, separate from other people in your home. Keep the door closed and use a separate bathroom from the rest of the household, if available. If you have to share these facilities, regular sterilization will be required. Consider drawing up a bathroom schedule for washing or bathing, and have the isolated person using the facilities last.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're having a conversation by telephone link up with Ms. Teresita De Silva of the NEOC, as well as Mr. Richard Sims, who is the Director of the Department of Environmental Health. Mr. Sims, advice in relation to the food handling. We know that there are persons who are delivering food, restaurants who are making deliveries as well, and any comments in relation to use of masks in general, or at public locations where persons are interfacing with the public.
Yes, OC. As you know, we provide food handling training to members of the public, including restaurants and supermarkets. You know, my general advice would be for food business to continue to follow those hygiene practices that we were taught in food preparation, food handling, and anyone handling food should be, you know, wash their hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, right? And you know, this should be done as a matter of routine, you know, before handling foods and especially after, you know, being in a public place, you know, blowing up their nose and coughing, sneezing, and all this kind of stuff. You know, need to make sure, you know, after you use the bathroom, you wash your hands, right? When it comes to the food aspect of it, though, you know, we're not seen any or having any reports about, you know, where food has been contaminated with the virus and stuff like that. Because generally heat, to my understanding, would fight against this to some level. But as it relates to your question surrounding the mask issue, even though it's not anything that is mandatory at the moment for when you're going out in public and stuff like that, my personal opinion on that is that people should take all the protective precautions that they can. If that means for you to wear a mask, I would certainly encourage that. Because from what we've been told, how it's been spread by droplets, I think wearing of masks it doesn't do there's no harm in taking some preventative measures by doing so.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And Ms. Teresita, anything that you want to add to that?
I completely concur with what the director of DEH said, Mr. Sims, that there's no harm in persons wearing masks, given that they will be in close proximity with a number of persons on a daily basis. So any initiative that can help them protect themselves should be taken on, but just be mindful that they aren't, that they aren't reducing the effectiveness of the mask by unknowingly contaminating the mask. So being mindful, if you are wearing a mask, make sure your hands are clean, learning how to remove the mask properly rather than just placing your hands on the mask and then contaminating that, because then now you're reducing the effectiveness of the mask. So while they are useful, persons have to make sure that they do get some level of knowledge on how to properly use a mask. And this can be found on YouTube. There's a number of resources that can brief you on how to properly put on a mask as well as remove a mask.
Okay, and Mr. Silva, one of our observations, and I'd like you to explain this again to our audience. The writer has said that up until now, their understanding of the meaning of the term cluster has been pockets of infection within populations. They point out that unless they are not hearing correctly, this term appears to be used on the show this morning to describe sections within the National Emergency Operations Center. I wonder if this is at all wise to use the term clusters. And of course, this is a terminology that has been used not only with the NEOC, but also when it was considered to be the national hurricane, when we had what was called a national hurricane plan as well. Can you explain that, please?
Yeah, so when we did a restructure of the when the National Emergency Operations Center was established, we tried to group like-minded groups into one team, and which then we call them clusters. So what we should be saying is the infrastructure cluster, to differentiate that is not a medical term.
Right.
For us, it's just saying that this is our teams, because within them you have various emergency response teams or emergency support teams. So yes, we do use clusters, but this has been established within our structure for some years now.
And
so we can differentiate this.
Is it embedded in legislation as well? The term is probably in the legislation also, I would imagine.
No, as far as I've read, it's not embedded in the legislation. It just said we have to have a National Emergency Operations Center, and so within that we've developed these teams.
Okay, excellent in that. We're about 8 minutes before you are due to leave the show. I want to give Mr. Sims an opportunity for some closing comments. But before we do that, maybe either of you could comment on one concern that one listener had in relation to parking spaces for disabled persons, and when those parking spaces are occupied, that people are not necessarily being Cayman kind and taking into consideration the fact that the person may have a sticker that says, disabled, unable to find a parking spot, and not necessarily deferring to them or giving them an opportunity to park close to where they're going as well. Any comments?
Is this a matter of the spaces being misused?
No, just not sufficient numbers for any particular location, and what can they do when they don't have a parking space. Their concern is that people are not being as considerate to the elderly and those persons who have designated vehicles as disabled.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that from a legal standpoint, not much can be done because of if the specific location has already complied with the planning rules in terms of the number of parking spaces that they have to provide for the elderly. We can only rely on the good graces of the persons who are parking to defer to them, I would imagine. Huh?
Precise. And I guess we can just try to encourage more persons or discourage persons from going to the supermarkets during the designated times for the elderly, given that they have their hour from 6 to 7 at Foster's, if I'm correct, and at Hurley's from 7 to 9. So just trying to deter persons from going during that time to allow these spaces to be available, as well as other spaces that may not be designated as handicapped spaces, but they're close enough to the entrance that persons can still utilize them if all the other designated spaces are taken. So just a matter of persons being cognizant and not being selfish and going during that time just so that they can be at the front of the line, but allowing persons who do need those spaces, who do need that 1 hour to shop, to just stay home until it's your time to go to the supermarkets or to any other space or to any other establishment in town or on the island.
Excellent. Mr. Sims, want to give you an opportunity for some closing comments, and after you, then we'll go back to Mr. Silva for some closing comments as well, sir.
Yes, O.C., thank you. I just want to again commend my staff for the hard work that they're doing, and not just the garbage collectors. We have a great team of food officers who are out there making sure that they deliver the persons who are granted the opportunity to deliver food, that they're following the proper protocols and so on. So we are monitoring those as well. And I'm grateful to the food officers for taking on that responsibility, and also the environmental health officers who have been assisting with monitoring the shelter for the persons who are returning on island and so on. So we've been busy, and we're also looking at asking these environmental health officers to assist public health. As you know, they're in a position where they are in need of help, so whatever assistance my team can do to provide there, we'll do that. And just to remind the public, just to, there are a lot of people out there who probably saying, okay, I'm at home, I can now clean up my yard, and, because you're permitted to move around your yard space, so they may find the opportunity to do some cleanup in that regard. If you find yourself one of those persons that are doing that, if it is stuff that needs to be collected by way of bulk waste, we have to store it properly, and then you notify us, and we'll make arrangements for that afterwards, after things are clear. But we'll continue on with our regular garbage collections. So far so good. We've been staying on schedule. So, and if they see us a little day off, just be patient. We'll be with you the next day for sure.
Okay. And what one of our listeners wanted to know, Mr. Simpson, I think you had mentioned earlier that you had a number of staff who were out.
Yes.
What was that number again?
Last week it was 21 persons, but they were just pretty much either not sick with the virus.
Okay.
That clear. They were regular flu, but not or had flu symptoms, but nothing of many major concern at this point. So probably not to worry about that. But it was just that's from our usual absenteeism record, vacation, sick, whatever. So but nothing for the public to be concerned about. But we're managing, and we're progressing. And like I said earlier, we're taking on those 10 additional persons this week to give us that well-needed boost that so we can make sure that we keep up.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, we're on target and on schedule so far. So far, so good, and we hope that with the addition of the new trucks that are coming online soon, we'll be able to continue to service the public the best that we can, or provide them with better service from what they're receiving now.
Excellent. Ms. Teresita, thank you very much, Mr. Sims, and again, big shout out to your staff as well for the good job that they're doing in these very, very challenging times as well. Ms. Teresita De Silva, some closing comments from you as well, and any additional advice that you want to impart before you go.
I just have to say, staying home saves lives. That's really the important thing that everyone needs to understand. The longer we take to stay home and take this serious, the longer we will have to fight this coronavirus. So once everyone just, gets with the program and know that our lives will be disrupted for a short period of time, then once we acknowledge that fact, then we can, fight this and get back to some semblance of normalcy. While it may not be our old normal, we'll find ways to adjust, but staying home saves lives. The quicker we do this, the quicker we can get back on our feet, the quicker we can start getting back to some semblance of normalcy, going to the beach unrestricted, children going to school. So just let's all do our part to ensure the safety of our family, the safety of our friends, as well as our community.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you, for being on the show and providing such valuable information to our listening and viewing audience as well. When we return, we will certainly have open line for you, for our listeners to call in. If you have concerns, if you have any observations as well, we will be able to continue with the conversation until 10 o'clock. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Insurance is complicated. Make your life easier and better protected with comprehensive financial solutions from FIS Insurance Brokers, with plans from life, health, property insurance, motor, public liability, and professional liability insurance. Whether you're protecting your family or your business, leave nothing to chance. Understand your options and protect yourself for the future. Speak to your FIS Insurance Broker agent today, located on Shedden Road by MoneyGram, or call 623-5616.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
A public service announcement from Radio Cayman. Coronavirus prevention tips. Advice for vulnerable people. Extra steps you can take to avoid COVID-19. If you have a chronic illness, such as respiratory disease, diabetes, heart disease, COPD, hypertension, or cancer, or are elderly, over 60, or have a compromised immune system, you can further protect yourself with extra precautionary steps in addition to prevention tips. Remember, you are supported. Call the HSA helpline on 1-800-534-8600 or 947-3077 if you have any questions. For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Are you a landlord? Add your tenant to your Water Authority account now. Adding your tenant allows them to have access to account information via telephone or email from the Water Authority customer service team while the country continues to shelter in place to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Email your customer service team at info@waterauthority.ky for guidance through this process.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I want to again thank all of the guests that we had the phone link up with this morning, and we hope and trust that the information that they provided, that you found that helpful and valuable, and that you would follow whatever instructions that were given by our panelists this morning as well. One of our listeners has written in and said, please ask the public to please clean out their garbage bins with bleach and soap. Sometimes the garbage smells, as well. And of course, that can be annoying and as well as being unhealthy for those persons who have to pick up the garbage as well. So it is important. We know that there are some countries that people come from who do not necessarily, those countries do not necessarily have the type of sanitary facilities and services that we have here in the Cayman Islands. And we hope and we trust that they're able to adjust to the way of life in the Cayman Islands. They see what people do, the positive and helpful things that people do, and that they would follow them as well rather than acting in an antisocial fashion. Again, that could be part of the initiation, part of the initiation process in the Cayman Islands when a person is coming to work and to live here, that certain things in terms of the rules and regulations are pointed out to them, what should be and what shouldn't be done, what is kosher and what is non-kosher as well. I believe we have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
For the Record.
Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm fine. Staying safe, are you?
Yeah, I'm safe. I'm staying in. Yes, I'm staying in. I'm abiding by the rules.
Good.
I'm abiding by everything.
Great.
Now, there's a query I have. Okay. I don't know if what I say is correct or not, but this is from what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people that are positive, yeah,
mm-hmm.
and they are not quarantined. They are allowed to live in their homes with their families. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, Doc. Mm-hmm.
Well, I have to be quarantined in my house, and so do other people. What is the purpose of that? If they are allowed to stay home, and they can come out when they want to because there's no one policing them. If they're positive, no one policing them to prevent them from transferring the virus to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Why is there not a quarantine place of quarantine for them and for their families? I don't understand that at all. That does not make sense to me, because I am protected. I am protected from them. They are protecting from other people getting the virus from me. But then they are allowed to go out in the streets when they are positive and they're not quarantined at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or in I think it was around 1948 or the beginning of 1950, there was an outbreak of tuberculosis here. And this is when we were administered by Jamaica. And I'll say this before again. I'll say this again. We were being administered by Jamaica at the time. And because of the...
Doc, are you still there? Folks, having a little technical difficulty. I want to remind you that you can call us on our toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255, 949-8037, 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, one word, for the record, at CANDW.KY. WhatsApp us on 925-3261. Until we are able to link back up with Dr. McFeel, just to answer part of his question and to address his concern, we're being told by officials that those persons who are in quarantine at home, that they are being monitored. They're being monitored on a daily basis. They're visited by health officials as well. Their whatever shopping and other things are necessary, they're done as well. But the officials seem to be quite in control of the situation. Now, we do know that there have been concerns about stigmatizing families. And, if people are quarantined at other locations, then there is the possibility of persons knowing who they are. And, of course, there is this big debate between if we know which persons are infected, then we know that they are the ones that we should avoid coming in contact with or close contact with. But in the same breath, if we know who they are, they're the ones who we will stigmatize as well. And we see in other jurisdictions where people are actually fearful, for their lives because of the fact that family members have been infected. We have seen in some jurisdictions where particular areas people are shunning going there because of that as well. So, there's a strong debate on both sides in relation to that. And the advantage that we have if we're not infected is to follow the guidelines that are in place in terms of social, physical distancing, and all of the other issues as well. To follow them. We have another 2 callers that have joined us as well. Hopefully, Dr. McFeel can reconnect us well with us. Let's take the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O.C. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. This is Brian Barnes. I sent you a WhatsApp. Did you get a time to look at it?
Was that recently or?
About a minute ago, 2 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Opening it up now. Okay. It's
PDF file.
PDF file?
Yeah.
Okay. Can go ahead and tell our audience about it.
Okay, let me explain the situation, okay? I applied for exemption because my father is 86 years old, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Dialysis patient, heart and kidney problems, okay, diabetic, the whole 9 yards, and I'm his primary caretaker. When I first applied, they turned me down to I must get a caretaker. I'm the closest family member that lives close to him. I live in West Bay, he lives in Georgetown, and I'm the only one I take care of him, okay? I go in and fix him up his medication, feed him 3 times a day, clean him up, set him up, and take care of him. So I applied, and they turned me down. So I reapplied again with his discharge letter from the hospital and also the note from the dialysis unit. He take dialysis.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave me an exemption. Now, yesterday morning, okay, when I applied that I go there 3 times a day to take care of him. Yesterday morning when I was going, I got stopped by the police. And they told me, when I showed my letter, they told me my letter wasn't good. Now that's a letter. You can read the letter. You tell me if it's not good or not. Okay?
And when they said it wasn't good, what they meant by not being good?
That I can't be out on a hard curfew. But I say I apply. I said I show them all the emails that I sent communicating because I'm discharged there. That I do take care of my father, and they wanted me to turn around. Now I got his breakfast in the car. Okay, I go and administer his medication to him 3 times a day. Okay, sorted his pills for him and for him what to take. So now the inspector applied with me and said, okay, Brian, go ahead and do what you got to do. See what you can do to get him through the day and go back home. I said, thank you very much. So I went, cleaned him up, fixed him his breakfast, sorted his medication, give it to him. His other 2 set of medication to the day, I put him in a cup so he can take them at a certain time, okay, and made him a couple of sandwiches and fix him up something so I don't have to come back out so I can stay home.
Mm-hmm.
On my way back home, I get pulled down by another officer who started raising hell with me, but I'm on the road. I show him, he said, that don't mean nothing, blah, 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 blah. And while he was talking to me, another lady pulled up beside in the car that he stopped and pulled along on the road. And she showed a letter, and he asked her, where is she going? She said, I'm coming from feeding dogs. I said, and she said, he said, okay, go ahead on. What's more important, an 86-year-old man that's sick or a woman going out to feed dogs?
Okay, and so at the end of the day, with that last that last incident, what was the final outcome of it?
After I told him I am going home, I say, if it's a problem, call the inspector. And I called the inspector and I said, call this inspector, okay? He gave me permission to go to do what I had to do because apparently he explained it to me, my letter's no good. And he allowed me to go take care of my father. I went, he said, what you do for the father the rest of the day? I said, I gave him his pills in a cup to tell him what time to take them. I'll call him, tell him to take them. And I made him a couple of sandwiches. And he still would say, still want, like I'm breaking the law and doing something wrong when I'm trying to take care of a life. You can tell me dogs' lives are much more valuable than my father's life. He asked the woman one question, where you coming from? Oh, feeding dogs. Oh, go ahead too. But he grilled me on the side of the road for about 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. But eventually he let you through. I mean, in reading this letter, it is quite clear, and I'm going to very quickly read it. It says, while carrying out their official or employment-related duties, Brian A. Barnes is exempt from movement restriction from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. to provide care and support to a vulnerable person. Task: transportation of elderly father to and from dialysis treatment and provision of reasonable care for elderly father, age 86 years, who is considered a vulnerable person. If stopped by law enforcement, the essential staff member is required to comply with law enforcement instructions and to present this letter along with a letter from you naming the staff member as essential and company or government issued identification. This seems quite clear in that regard. You may want to have a word with the Commissioner of Police or someone else, because if you feel that you are being unnecessarily harassed as a result of that, then you have the letter to show there. That the letter speaks for itself. You should lodge a complaint, official complaint, caller.
It wasn't valid. And I showed him the email. I showed him his father discharge papers. What am I supposed to leave the man to die?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and take care of him. Okay, this is my father I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And what I did yesterday, I made him a couple of sandwiches, fixed the medication because I didn't know.
We understand that. My advice is that you have a letter that is there. I think you need to get to the relevant authorities now and let them know that you're being you're being unnecessarily pressured despite the fact that you have the letter. We have to take a commercial break. When we return, I think we have, how many calls, Ms. Susan? One caller. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Sending money to your family overseas shouldn't be a full-day process. Stop waiting in lines. MoneyGram, the safest and most convenient way to send money worldwide, offering 3 convenient locations: Shedden Road, Baden Water Sports in West Bay, and at FIS Brack Agency in Cayman Brack. MoneyGram by Financial Integrated Services. Visit fiscayman.com for more information on MoneyGram services. MoneyGram, bringing you closer.
We all know there's nothing more refreshing than the taste of an ice-cold Coca-Cola straight from the cooler.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Whether it's celebrating a birthday, promotion, or just a great meal, make each moment a Coca-Cola moment.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Make sure you ask for the unforgettable flavor of a classic Coca-Cola.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
A public service announcement from Radio Cayman.
Rumors and misinformation will not help us tackle the coronavirus. Remember, you can check on www.gov.ky/coronavirus to see trusted and up-to-date guidance from the experts. This page is being continually updated and should become your first port of call for the facts. Please do your part to avoid scare tactics and fake news. This government is not complacent. We will continue to prepare tirelessly, make the necessary decisions required in the best interests of the health and safety of our people. You may feel worried, scared, or stressed about the serious nature of COVID-19, but we can and will overcome this public threat. Again, remember to cover your cough and sneezes, wash your hands often, and avoid close contact with persons, especially if they're showing signs of respiratory illness. Please stay safe, and may God continue to bless the Cayman Islands.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have about 9 minutes left before the show ends, and we have two callers. They're going to be the final two calls for the morning as well. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. For the
Good
Record.
morning again, Doc. Good morning. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, well, you talk about privacy. I don't understand. Privacy has no business now. When you have a public threat, a national threat, you know that the Constitution talks about that those things, all of those rights are suspended.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't understand your argument about that because it seems to me that if I was tested positive, I would want to be put in someplace in a quarantine, someplace away from my family and away from other friends, so that the possibility of me having contact with them and they can catch the virus from me.
Yes.
It seems to me that this is a useless task because we don't know if those people are going to walk out into the street or their family is going to walk out in the streets after being in contact with them and they meet somebody at the supermarket or someplace else. It doesn't make sense to me. And you talk about privacy. There's no privacy when you have a public threat such as the one. I would not be claiming any privacy. I would want everyone to know that I'm positive and that I want to be away from them until the possibility for me to be cleared by testing. And you can't have it both ways. And it seems to me that I am here all day in my house and all night in my house, and somebody else who's positive is in their house, but they're going to the same supermarket that I'm going to in my days off, or their families going there, and when the time comes for me to go to buy my groceries or to go to the pharmacy, does that make sense to you? Hello?
Yes, Doc. Go right ahead. Sorry. You were saying.
Does that make you want to say good old Cayman common sense? Does that make sense to you, Orrett?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Now, Doc, could it possibly be that there is likely to be, if the numbers continue to increase, which they will, that there is limited capacity to quarantine people in at locations?
There are a lot of empty buildings, there are a lot of empty places where you could have makeshift places. There are a lot of empty buildings around the island. That's not an excuse. And we don't have to wait till the numbers are rising. We should be at all. In fact, we should try to not make the numbers rise before we take action. That's what it seems to me. And another thing about the premier talks about bringing the legislature back. Well, I don't understand why they can't, because you have a speaker, because the speaker has not resigned, and the so-called leave of absence is unconstitutional. So I don't see why they can't get the legislature back quickly and get the legislation passed that it needs to be passed. Okay?
Got you, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc, for that. You have a great day. Please stay safe as well. Let's take our last caller for the morning. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC. How are you doing?
Good morning, sir. I'm fine, and yourself?
Fine, thanks. I think if we just follow the instructions, a small island like what we have here, we could get to the top of this thing, shall I say, quickly. Being a small island with a population, if we just do as Mr. McField talked about, I think he has merits to what he said. And if we just follow what we're told to do, I think we should be able to get to the top of this mountain quite quickly. What I really call in about, though, again this morning, is about my good friend, Mr. Patrick McField, that passed away.
Yeah, my brother-in-law.
Oh, your brother-in-law. Okay, yes. My condolences to you as well and the family. He was engineer on the ship with me again. And, he's such a polite gentleman. Taught me a lot of stuff when I was in the ship because I was green as a cucumber. So he was very polite, quite helpful. And I just want to pass on my condolences to the family of Mr. McField. Pat, I know he'll be missing. And I just wondered, I was quite shocked and surprised to hear that he passed away. Sadly, that is a thing that will happen to us as well. But old Pat, he was a nice guy. And I am not so acquainted with his relatives, but I just want them to know that, they have my sympathy and condolences. And, Mr. Ray, welcome as well. He was in the ship with me. Gilbert Chisholm from Northside. It's only 5 that I can think about now that is still alive that was in the ship with me. I can call the names. James Sterling Ebanks, Captain Dalton's son, Shorty and Brian Dixon, and 2 more, if I can get them right up front here. Mr. Connor from East End, Albert Connor. And there's another one that is missing someplace. But, I just want to say that I have maximum respect for all of these seamen where we come from. And, it is something that hopefully one day that the seamen, after this is passed over, we will be able to get together and have a real good remembrance and celebration of all the seamen. Yeah. So thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you very much. I will convey that to Pat's family as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to share with you some correspondence that I've been having with one of my colleagues, and I think this is very informative, as well. And it has to do with the ability for people to practice care mankind and to help elderly persons. And their concern was that realistically, how without specific permission can people assist persons who are in need with their shopping when there are specific limitations of 2 items per person. So, and that was in relation to the discussion and the query that one caller had in relation to the people who will be affected by the holidays and everything else. So my response was that whether or not the individual is limited to how often or how many stores can one attend on your designated day. And the person replied that it is their understanding that if a person is able to go to the store, stand in line, get their 2 items, they can come back an hour or so later and repeat. that is so technically, but it would appear to be a farce if, in fact, that supermarkets were not enforcing 2 items of each product per designated day per person. And their observation and question is would it not be easier for the NEOC to email a pass to any person carrying out the said role? And that would be one solution to the problem, as long as they're not overwhelmed by it. But I believe in general terms that the shopping situation, the grocers, the providers have pointed out that we have more than enough food on the island. There is a steady supply, and if for some reason that supply was interrupted, for instance, the supply from the United States, that there are other regions that they have access to as well, including South America. So it is quite possible that maybe at some point in time that I'm saying this now, it is quite possible that in some point in time that 2 identical item limit may be changed. But I believe that the public can help in that by not overdoing it, by exercising restraint when they're purchasing, bearing in mind that other persons have to purchase as well. Because there are people who are just stockpiling stuff. They go to the store and they have bought 2 of those items. Today they will go back the day after and purchase the same ones again, and they're stockpiling. Remember that when this is all over, you're going to have to either dispose of those items that you have in excess one way or the other. Hurricane season is coming up. Hopefully we won't have any, even though it's predicted that we're likely to have 4 major hurricanes during the season. But you can either use them for hurricane season, or you can give them out to various charitable organizations who help to feed persons as well. If you consume all of those yourself, then you're going to have to get gym membership, not only from one gym, but for several gyms, to shed some of that weight that you're going to put on by eating all those foods that you're storing up as well. Folks, we reached that time, top of the hour, 10 o'clock. I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your places of work. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then donate to worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Ebanks at 12:15, or Patrick Smith, who has been filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And also remember that the press briefing this afternoon as well. Listen, if you can, follow it live or the repeat at 7 o'clock on Radio Cayman, where you can get up-to-date, first-hand, valuable information as well. God bless. Stay safe.
By Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. FIS MoneyGram, the safest and most convenient way to send money worldwide. MoneyGram, bringing you closer. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. And Fidelity Bank. Fidelity, we're good for you.